They say a man blooms at 40, but at 40 he became someone everyone avoided. He stared at the greasy stranger in the mirror. Silently, he opened the cabinet, pulled out the standard middle-aged survival kit. Blood pressure first, cholesterol next. As expected, the screen flashed red. He calmly took out 2 pills, tilted his head and swallowed them dry. The day officially began, or rather, the troubles did. When he noticed his son's eyes hidden behind long bangs, he finally
You should
spoke.
probably get it cut. Bangs.
No sooner had he said a word than his son stood up, clearly done with him.
Who the hell are you telling to get lost?
His wife wouldn't look at him. His son acted out as if the world belonged to him alone. Even the cabinet doors seemed to silently protest, and try as he might, he couldn't even get relief in the bathroom. Holmes blared. He jumped onto his e-bike and rushed toward the office. The winding road ahead felt like his life, quietly sliding downhill. He parked smoothly, ready to clock in. Then, a bicycle fell beside him. Better not get involved, he thought. But his body stepped forward before his mind could react.
Huang, how'd you go and tip over the bike?
It just toppled by itself.
He rubbed his aching back and dashed toward the office. In his rush, his phone slipped from his hand. Picking it up, he saw its wooden T turn on. No time to dwell. He sprinted to the clock in machine, but the late alert blared anyway. Huang Yuqi, 1 minute late, entering the department. The morning meeting was already in full swing. He took a deep breath, forced a friendly smile, bracing himself for the storm. The boss was leading a team game, giving him a slim chance to blend in, but the leader's watchful eyes felt like a camera, leaving him exposed despite his best efforts.
All right, pause for a moment. Looks like someone's late again. Just like I said, we're one big family here, and everyone in this family deserves our care. Green radish squat.
Green radish squat!
She is eliminated.
He laughed it off, hiding his embarrassment behind a smile. His co-workers were used to it by now. Over time, old Huang became that guy, always available, always helpful. If there was a problem, they knew exactly who to call.
Sai! Okay!
Though old Huang worked without complaint, his kindness earned no gratitude. Instead, his clumsiness became well known around the office. To prove he still had value, he even took on the role of company electrician, power on or off, one touch, and he claimed he could tell. He lay there for a moment, then suddenly snapped upright.
The voltage tester was broken.
On the way home, he carried the weight of the day on his shoulders. He'd bought a new phone, but the thought of explaining it made him groan. At home, the phone sat in his hands, lifeless and uninteresting. The TV announced a month-long meteor shower, but he couldn't care less. Logging into his accounts, he forgot every password. Security questions left him dizzy. Every attempt failed, he gave up, defeated, and somehow ended up making a simple dinner. His wife was working late, his son at evening, study he ate alone. The next morning, the alarm dragged him awake, knees cracking. He braced for another day, the same middle-aged routine, the same rebellious son, the same chaotic commute, the same office games, the same little humiliations, and yet he carried on.
Huang Yuqi is eliminated.
It's me again. It's me again.
The team annoyed him, as always today. The boss joined in, summoned urgently. He practically folded himself in half.
Boss ran.
Go find a seat.
In a sprawling office, not a single seat was his.
Boss ran.
Fine, just stand for the meeting then.
Shocked, the boss complimented old Huang, then said to the director, "Any good news? Think old Huang first."
Thinking about it, company health check. Old Huang first. Year-end bonus. Old Huang first. Even next quarter's layoffs. Old Huang is first again.
Hearing the word layoff, old Huang stared at his boss in disbelief. The boss gave no direct answer. Instead, he held up a trophy with a knowing smile. Back in his youth, old Huang had been a sprinter, always finishing first, the one exception. That very trophy, which the boss had won beating him for the top spot.
I know that, President Ren. The three of us were high school classmates, right?
One spoke, then the other old Huang couldn't follow. All he could see in his head were the words, layoff.
Old Huang, think about all the work you do every day. If I hire an intern, their salary would be less than yours, and their health would be better. Ask yourself honestly, what can you really do for the company?
Old Huang is about to start doing something for the company.
The boss held up the new meal replacement bag, but no one dared try it. Everyone hesitated, fearing the worst, until old Huang snatched it away in one swift move, claiming it before anyone could blink.
Before meals or after meals?
Eat the meal, replacement powder, instead of a regular meal.
Thanks, boss, for the food.
If it's tasty, eat more.
If it's not enough, just come back and get more.
Once you've eaten your fill, I'll even give you a bonus.
Amid the boss's laughter, old Huang waved goodbye. He knew the risk was real, but at 40, he couldn't afford to lose his job, and he didn't dare to. That night, on his way home, he spotted a familiar figure among the runners. It was his rebellious son.
Old Huang. Teacher Liu.
The three of them chatted when Teacher Liu revealed old Huang's past. He had once been the city's top athlete, trained by Liu himself. For the first time, his son felt proud of his father's glory. But the moment passed quickly. Old Huang said the extra points were secured, and there was no need to keep running anymore.
Huh? Training in sports is great. Look at me. After all these years, I don't seem to have aged at all. Unlike you. If I remember correctly, I'm older than you, right?
Compared side by side, the awkwardness was impossible to hide. The son resented his father's blunt decisions and tried to argue, but old Huang cut him off. He didn't want his own regrets to repeat in his son's life. Like fathers everywhere, he explained what mattered and what didn't, and like most sons, the boy listened with quiet resistance, unconvinced, unable to agree.
You should get your own life together first. Then, come teach me.
When I was 18, I was way tougher than you!
An 18-year-old son is exactly the same as he once was at 18. Before 18, he worships his father. Then, little by little, he begins to question him. After 18, he pushes back and resists with age. He slowly learns to accept his father. After having children of his own, he finally understands him. And only at 40 does he realize he never became better than his father, lost in thought. He suddenly noticed the meteor shower from the news lighting up the sky. He turned around and crashed straight into someone. Time slipped away. He jolted awake in bed. A strand of hair blocked his sight. He blew it aside and froze. Everything felt strangely familiar. An old cassette on the table made him doubt reality. Until he opened the door and realized this was his home, and the familiar figure before him made his hands begin to tremble. He looked up. The date answered everything.
Hurry up! You're going to be late for school again!
His father's words were exactly the same as in his childhood. He couldn't accept it until his reflection in the glass revealed his 18-year-old face, and his father had returned to his younger self. Everything felt real and utterly absurd.
You were this young back then.
What? I'm this young now. I've always been this young, okay?
Your skin is so firm and smooth.
You're going to be late for school soon.
He saw his favorite fried rice on the table. Without overthinking, he dug in. Meanwhile, the television weather report gave the exact date, 1999. Suddenly, he realized it was all real. He touched his young body. Even the old creaky leg felt perfect again. Everything was so vivid, so beautiful. Then a call from his friend came just as expected. The same flashy moves. The same hairstyle, unchanged from back then. His father reminded him to get to school on time. Hearing the words, "go to school," he felt a rush of excitement. Since entering society, he had longed for school days, and now he got to live them again. As he left, his father called him back and handed him the promised autumn outing money.
What autumn outing? That's obviously just a trick to scam you into buying Q coins. Keep the money yourself and go to school.
You little brat finally grew a conscience.
18 was right in front of him, burning with hope like the sun itself. He couldn't wait to live it all again. He ran through familiar streets, joy surging with every step, until at the intersection, a car knocked him to the ground. Inside sat Four Eyes, his future boss, but he jumped right back up. Youth was unbelievable. Not even a hit like that could stop him. Four Eyes stared, recognizing an old classmate. Before he could speak, his father, director Ren, stepped in.
Classmate of Xiao Wang, are you okay?
I'm fine. Is the car okay?
Odarin stayed calm. If something was wrong, go to the hospital. If not, money would solve it. He pulled out his wallet, ready to count the bills. But Four Eyes stopped him. Yuqi isn't the kind of person who takes money. He was right, but this Yuqi wasn't 18 anymore. Inside him lived a 40-year-old soul. Money that should have been his one day. He took it without hesitation. The gesture stunned his friend, because the Yuqi he remembered would never do that. The three walked back to school together, and the moment Yuqi looked up, he saw his future wife. Just like before, he called out to her.
Your hair is so greasy.
Seizing the awkward moment, he spotted his future son's teacher. His sudden warmth left everyone confused.
Anzi, listen. I'm back, but nothing changes. 5 years, marriage, 7 kids. I've got bigger things now, so don't wait on me. Just follow the plan.
This way of picking up girls totally blew the guy's minds, but Huang Yuqi, he'd already dashed to the classroom. Life had restarted and bigger goals were on his mind. Tsinghua, Peking University, the works. For a moment, sleepiness hit him. The teacher's lecture was still hypnotic and he just couldn't get with it right away, of course. The teacher noticed and the classmates quickly ratted him out. Fenyang didn't hesitate, gave sleepy Yuqi a solid slap awake.
Classmates, don't ever spend all your best years just sleeping.
The teacher's words snapped him awake. He was someone who had traveled back in time. While wasted sitting in class, in a flash, he ran to the lottery shop, only to realize he hadn't memorized a single number. Thinking quickly, he decided to try his luck in the stock market instead.
What are you thinking? Even if you traveled back in time, you still can't touch that stuff.
Real estate meant big money. He showed up, nothing was built yet, so he turned back to the family business, not knowing how to sell his dad ideas that were way ahead of their time.
Oh, you're back so early.
I twisted my ankle a bit during training this afternoon, so I came back early.
Is your foot okay?
I'm fine.
He asked carefully. His dad answered straight up. The shop was just for happiness, enough for school.
No investment, no money, no success, no happiness.
Please advise me.
Kindly step this way.
He demanded the business, promising a 3-year chain and a 5-year IPO. He imagined 100 stores nationwide was just the start. Old Huang didn't scold him. He calmly exposed the flaws in his son. That's grand plan.
The teacher called me at noon, saying you ran off during math class. She wants me to go to school tomorrow and insists that I tell her the truth.
Old Huang didn't say no. He saw it as a lesson. But to take control, his son had to meet 2 conditions.
No skipping classes. No lying. Can you do that?
Yes.
They shook hands, sealing a gentleman's agreement. After that, he returned to his room. The walls were covered with sports stars, dreams he once had at 18. He turned on the computer, greeted by a long-lost startup sound. Dial-up internet followed, everything feeling both new and nostalgic. Then one message caught his eye. It was a selfie his own. The cringe-worthy photos made him want to disappear, so he deleted them without hesitation. Some things should be erased forever. Just then another notification popped up. He opened it and froze. It was a post he had just made himself. One day earlier, Huang Yuqi had promised his friends to catch the meteor shower. He was zooming on his bike when a meteor streak caught his eye. In that split second, he crashed into someone coming the other way. The next morning, he woke up in bed, stretched, and tried the carp flip. But surprise, it didn't work. Shocked, he flexed his legs and went for it again. In the end, his flip failed again. His heart raced, disbelief written all over him. Even standing felt shaky, like his strength had drained completely. As he got up, he froze at his own belly. Just as he reached for a mirror, a sharp snap echoed from his knee. Looking into the glass, he saw a face both familiar and strange. Photos on the wall showed his 18-year-old self and old friends. He hadn't even processed what was happening when he noticed the day below 2024. Despite the photos and albums around him, he could remember where he was. Suddenly, a noise came from the next room. He braced himself, kicked the door open, and yanked someone out, thinking a thief had broken in.
Don't move. Try moving a little.
You're tugging my bangs. Doesn't it hurt your heart? Doesn't it hurt your hand?
His son had never seen Dad like this, never got hit before. Furious, he tried to storm off, but Dad wasn't having any of it.
You're actually going to hit me? What the heck? I've trained for this, you know?
Who are you?
I'm asking you, who do you think I am?
This is your own son. Why can't you just speak properly? Why do you have to resort to hitting?
The cops warned them seriously. Fighting at home is illegal, and worse cases can lead to jail. But old Huang was only focused on the word son. Who did he expect to wake up with an 18-year-old son when he himself was only 18? The cops left and old Huang stayed his usual carefree self, while his son, still fuming, headed off to school, but shouted at again.
He really is my son. Handsome. Where's my dad?
He's in Hawaii.
Not bad. Old Huang, you really went, huh?
Who's your mom? What's her name?
Just then, the phone began to vibrate. Only after his son pointed it out did he realize it was ringing. Staring at a phone he'd never seen before, he was thrilled. His son seized the moment and bolted out the door, leaving Dad alone to study this future tech. Every simple swipe amazed him. Then he spotted a familiar app icon. He logged in by instinct. Wrong password. Only after answering the security question did it open. After fiddling with it, he posted his very first update. The moment it went live, it was seen by his 1999 self. At that instant, the same person from two timelines made first contact. After a brief exchange, a shocking truth emerged. Their souls had switched. The 40-year-old was now 18, and the 18-year-old had landed in the future. Past and future officially began roasting each other.
Bro, how did you get this fat?
I quit a long time ago. Where are you?
At your place. The house looks pretty nice.
That's the end of episode 1. Don't forget to subscribe.